Before I get on to other questions, can I welcome the government's complete U-turn on cutting £20 million from training in the Territorial Army? This was brought about after questions by Conservative MPs, by Labour MPs, and from this dispatch box. Can the Prime Minister tell us what on earth he was thinking of when he was thinking of cutting army training at a time when the country's at war?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me repeat again my condolences as he has given to those people who have died. One of them who was injured during the summer and has subsequently died in Birmingham. And let me also say that our thoughts must be with the United Nations and those relatives of those staff today. And I'm going to be speaking to the UN Secretary-General to tell him that no terrorism should deter us from our actions in Afghanistan. Now, as far as the training for Afghanistan is concerned, let me just say there are three stages of this, and all of them are important. First, we have to ensure that our regular army has the numbers that are necessary. That's why there has been an additional 9,300 people recruited to the army over the last year. And that means that army numbers are now at 101,000. And that, of course, means more money. The second thing was to ensure that the Territorial Army, who were sending people to Afghanistan, had those people going to Afghanistan properly trained and equipped. And I was sure when I reported to the House 2 weeks ago that that is what we would do. The third thing, having spent an additional £1 billion on Afghanistan this year, and spending a £1 billion extra on defence for costs associated with Afghanistan and other things, we could or would be able to spend on the Territorial Army. And having looked at all the issues, including the extra £1 billion we are spending on Afghanistan, and having talked to the Chief of the Defence Staff, I decided it was the right thing to do. But I have to tell him we are spending £1 billion more on Afghanistan and £1 billion more on defence, and it is wrong for him to say that we are not spending sufficient on defence. We are.
Honestly, this Prime Minister can't even be straight and straightforward when he's performing a U-turn. He cannot get away from the fact that he was proposing cuts in basic training that would have meant cuts in the TA. And if you cut by that amount, you cannot fight a war. The Prime Minister says there were 3 stages to this. There were 3 stages. The wrong policy informed by the wrong values, followed by weeks of dithering in Downing Street, and finally the government forced by the opposition to do the right thing in a humiliating climb down. And it all ends once again with a complete loss of the Prime Minister's authority. Why does this Prime Minister keep getting it wrong?
What is wrong are the opposition policies on the economy. What are wrong are the opposition policies on the health service. What are wrong are the opposition policies on education. Right throughout the recession, we have got things right. He has got it wrong.
The Prime Minister turns to the economy, so let us turn to the economy. We learnt last Friday that Britain is in the longest and deepest recession since records began. Now, presumably, one very simple thing has to follow from that. This Prime Minister has got to say something that up to now he has completely refused to say. Will he finally admit that he did not end boom and bust?
Mr. Speaker, we always said that we would come out of recession by the end of this year. That has been the position that the Chancellor took in his budget and the position we have consistently took. What would have been wrong and would have made things a lot worse if we had taken the advice of the Right Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Today, Mr. Speaker, today in Brussels, we have got permission so that Northern Rock can be sustained as a company. We agreed to nationalise it. We saved 3,000 jobs in Northern Rock. If we had taken his advice, there would have been no Northern Rock and 3,000 jobs would have been lost.
The Prime Minister tells us he's been consistent in saying we'll be out of recession by the end of the year. I'm not going to let him get away with that. The Prime Minister said in September, we are now coming out of a recession as a result of the actions we have taken. And he said in September, I think you will see figures pretty soon that show the action Britain is taking is yielding effect. He claimed this country, this was in June, this country is leading the rest of the world out of recession. The fact is, France, Germany and Japan have been growing for 6 months. Does he now accept he got it comprehensively wrong?
Mr. Speaker, if I have to explain to him, Germany and Japan have had a far deeper recession than we have had. Equally, at the same time, unemployment in this country is far lower than it is in America, far lower than it is in the euro area, and that is as a result of the actions we've taken. He can read every statement he likes, but it's absolutely consistent with my view and the Chancellor's view that we'd come through and out of the recession by the end of the year. The problem is that he's got policies that would keep us in recession. And his policies would mean more unemployment because he won't support the New Deal, more small businesses going under. We have supported 200,000 small businesses, more homeowners losing their homes. That is the policy of the Conservative Party. He can't deny he got every aspect of this recession wrong.
Even when you read the Prime Minister one of his own quotes from September about the recession ending, he can't even be straight about this. France and Germany and Japan have all come out of recession. So have Sweden, Brazil, Russia, South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, New Zealand. Doesn't this list demonstrate something else? That when the Prime Minister said, as he did over and over again, that we were the best prepared country in the world for this recession, he was plain wrong.
No, Mr. Speaker, we have been better placed because we had 3 million. We had 3 million more people in work than in 1997. We're better placed because we had a New Deal in place to help the unemployed. And we've been better placed because we had lower debt starting the recession as a result of the actions that we've taken. He cannot deny the fact that every single country in the International Monetary Fund is against the policies of the Conservative Party. Every single country in Europe is against the policies of the Conservative Party. The CBI, the Chambers of Commerce, other institutes in Britain representing business don't like the idea of withdrawing the fiscal stimulus. What sense does it make to withdraw the fiscal stimulus now, which is the policy of the opposition?
How can this Prime Minister possibly claim that we are the best placed when we've had the longest and deepest recession since records have begun, when we have 2.5 million people unemployed, when we have 1 in 5 young people can't find a job, and his recent triumph is our economy is now smaller than Italy's? That's what he has given us. Even before this recession, our budget deficit was the biggest in the developed world. We had a regulatory system designed by him that didn't work, and we had 5 million people on out-of-work benefits. What he said about the recession was wrong. What he said about the recovery was wrong. What he said about being well prepared was wrong. What he said about boom and bust was wrong. Doesn't he understand that unless he's straight with people about how we got into this mess, no one will trust him to get us out of it?
Mr. Speaker, not one policy from the opposition today, not one idea about growth in the economy. They were wrong on Northern Rock, they were wrong on helping the unemployed, they were wrong on helping homeowners, they were wrong on helping small businesses, they were wrong on the restructuring of the banking system, they've been wrong on the New Deal, they are wrong on just about every economic policy. No wonder every policy announced by the Shadow Chancellor collapses just after the morning headlines. They have got no ideas how to get us out of growth. They have no idea how to get us out of growth. Had we taken their advice, we'd be in an even deeper and even longer recession with more unemployment than they are now. They are not fit even to be the opposition promulgating